Hello everyone, welcome to Back to Bulgaria, the podcast where you will gain a perspective of what it's like to live and thrive here in Bulgaria. I'm your host, Katin Dreva. Today I am with Lenard Adanov. He's lived in so many different cities around the world.
Yeah, so I've moved 24 times now. So I'm born in Singapore. I lived there for 3 years, 6 years in the Netherlands, 1 year in Bulgaria, and 12 years in Ireland. So me coming back to Bulgaria was me coming home.
Today we're going to discuss why and learn a bit what he's up to here.
I've basically been running my own businesses since I was 15. That led into what I'm specializing in now, which is the marketing strategies of businesses.
What made you make that decision to do this in Bulgaria? What was it that was like, yeah, this is it?
With remote work, like my clients are from Mexico, Japan, Canada, US. It doesn't really matter where I am, so I might as well be in Bulgaria and enjoy this culture, enjoy my life here, and grow and do what I can do here. I love the fact that when people say, oh, there's nothing here, there's another way to look at that. It's like, there's nothing here. It's amazing. You have the opportunity of a lifetime to build whatever you want. Go and do your thing. You'll get the support. There's so many people who are genuinely rooting for you and wishing for your success. You're not going to get change if you just wait on it, right? Everyone in Bulgaria still talks about the 1994, Bulgarian. Yeah, sure, fine, but what happens in the future? How about 2026 Bulgaria, Let's go for it.
This is the Back to Bulgaria podcast. Discover life in Bulgaria, one story at a time.
So, hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Absolutely perfect.
Yeah. How was your date so far today?
Really good. Woke up, watched some Formula One, and excited to come here.
Oh, you're a Formula One fan.
I'm indeed.
Because today Formula One was in which
China.
In China.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. It kind of is on,
Closer
the other
to
side
home
of the
turf.
world. No, it goes around. Yeah, let's go a bit into where you're from and a bit about yourself before we dive into what you're doing here.
Sure, of course. So yeah, as you said, my story is a bit all over the place. I'm technically Bulgarian, is what I like to say. So I'm born in Singapore. I lived there for 3 years, 6 years in the Netherlands, 1 year in Bulgaria, and 12 years in Ireland. I moved back to Bulgaria in 2020 after graduating aviation management and pilot studies in Dublin. And from there, I've been living here for 4 years now and absolutely loved every second of it.
Mm. And how is it possible that you've lived in so many different countries?
Yeah, so I've moved 24 times now, and it's actually all thanks to my father. So he works in aviation, started off as an avio engineer, and from there in the Netherlands, he switched to the aircraft leasing business. So he sells and leases aircraft, which is quite different from, actually fixing them. But in fairness, he has this unfair advantage of understanding what he actually sells. So it's quite brilliant. And thanks to that, he's had loads of opportunities all over the world, and that has led him ultimately to Dublin, working for Dubai Aerospace.
I'm guessing it's tiring to explain your story every single day. Where are you from?
Yeah, that's why I say technically Bulgarian. That's the short version. Yes.
And do you feel any connection to all these countries that you've lived in?
I do, but I like to embrace more the philosophy of you're kind of a child of the world at that stage. Like I really do not get nationalism or patriotism in that kind of a way. I do have a certain affinity towards Bulgaria, definitely. We go back, 14 generations. We can trace our bloodline here. But nevertheless, originally our ancestors are from Mongolia, right? So, and ultimately from Africa, right? So technically you are all from the same place, and I love to explore different cultures and different ways life has developed, but definitely zero connection in terms of I definitely feel Irish or definitely feel Dutch, or Singaporean, right? No chance, right? It's a bit of everything, definitely, and I'm super privileged to have that experience that most people really don't, to see all those cultures and kind of have them within me in a way.
And from those different cultures, what's one thing you've kept with you from the Dutch, the Irish? I don't know if you were too little to catch anything from Singapore, but
sadly I remember maybe 2 things from Singapore, but in general it was less so the one culture that has kind of shaped me or given me a specific thing in my personality. It's more how I grew up to handle all the change constantly, and that was the major benefit. highly different experiences at very different stages of my life, which shaped me for that period. And I have to say, I have incredible memories from each of those places, but they're definitely not the one country is better than the other, right? A lot of people ask me that question, right? Like, oh, which country do you prefer? I don't, right? I like them all just because I associate them with different aspects of my life. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. It's kind of also my perspective on things when I think about, a lot of people ask me, US, Netherlands, or Bulgaria, where it's better. And my point of view is that each place has its pluses and minuses. There's things to learn from each one, and it's more about which place do you feel most comfortable in, and that you would like to give, like that you would like to put your roots into, and give yourself the chance to get to really know people, have impact, and create your community there. So for you, is there such a place where you, I don't know, do guys think about these things?
We do, surprisingly, some of us. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I have always seen Bulgaria as the place where, in a very similar way, I would like a Bulgarian partner in my life. I would like someone to raise kids with here. And even if not here, I like to raise them Bulgarian, with the Bulgarian culture at least, right? And it's weird enough that I maybe dreaded, or I really had a tough time growing up the way I did, but I would definitely want that for my kids, right? I want them to suffer, right? No. And the idea is that I would love for them to experience all those different cultures and to face those troubles head on as children. As tough as those experiences are, they make you into an incredible human, singing my praises. But in general, right, they help you develop over time. And it's something that I would highly encourage for people. Go and explore the world. Go and see as much as you can. For us, we never lost touch with our Bulgarian roots because our granny, since we were kids, would always after school do, basically diktovki for us. I can't even think of the English word for it. Yeah, you'd write down what you hear, right?
She talks to you, and you just write down what she says.
We did that in French as well, and I can't even remember that word. Anyway, but we do that. We do math questions as well, and it was absolutely fantastic because you would not be allowed to do anything. You'd not be allowed to hang out with your friends, to go play games, to do whatever until you finish your work. And dictations. And it was an absolutely brilliant time of my childhood that you are in a way learning about Bulgaria, you're learning about Bulgarian history, you're writing down whatever you hear about that, and it shaped us for sure with my brother because we would do that. We would do in Holland when we were every Friday afternoon we had this Bulgarian school online on Skype, right, called Pozitsta, or On the Wire, right, in English. And the idea would be that these two teachers, one for Bulgarian and literature and the other for history, would teach us about Bulgaria, right? And teach us the Bulgarian language. And we'd do that while I was in Holland. And then afterwards in Ireland, we'd go to Sunday school, which later turned to Saturday school, where I met some of my closest friends. Didi and Annie, for example. I've been friends with them for 15 years now. And no matter where they are, like Diana is in Ireland still, and Annie is in Canada right now. But we always hang out. We always would help each other out, and we'd, the proverbial, if you have a dead body, we'd help you bury it type of a thing. Like we have that very, very close friendship where we've gone through so much stuff together that no matter what, we know that we're there for each other. And it's something that really binds you together. Not just that you're Bulgarian, but the fact that you've gone through Sunday school, you've gone through running away from classes, trying not to write essays in class because you really hate that. But nevertheless, the culture binds you together. Those, let's say, celebrations around Easter or the 24th of May for Bulgarian Cultural Day, we would run away and hide, and we'd always be the presenters. So people would miss us if we hide, but we would, nevertheless, right? We'd go and just pull some shenanigans. And it was so much fun, and it was an experience. But being constantly in touch with the Bulgarian culture is a massive thing. So to go back, yes, I would like to have kids. Thinking about this, we definitely went off topic.
No, I think that's great. I think it's great. You touched on a really good topic here, which is the Bulgarian diasporas that exist all over the world. And I guess you've seen them in the Netherlands and in Ireland. And the fact that your parents insisted on you speaking Bulgarian, this made your life easier to connect with your grandma and to connect with your friends and family. And the fact that that does seem to be a thing that also for me when I was living in the US, that diaspora thing of you do go Saturday to Horo class, or you do go Sunday to Bulgarian church, or 3rd of March, we're going to meet in some picnic, in some park somewhere and have a picnic, you know? And there is this feeling of pride that you're Bulgarian. Pride not in a nationalistic way, like, but pride of like, I'm happy that I'm Bulgarian and I get to celebrate this tradition and do things with people who have a similar background with me. So putting all these things together, how did you decide to come to Bulgaria?
Yeah, so it was definitely quite bizarre, right? When we were in Bulgarian school, we'd always talk with our friends, with Didi and Ani mainly, that we'd always love to come back to Bulgaria. Like, it was always in our minds, definitely one day we're coming back. Question was when, right? And I came back in 2020 because, well, we graduated during the period we shall not be named. But it was a tough time and I had no idea what to do. But I graduated aviation management and my idea was at the time to become an astronaut. Now, because aviation management is more focused towards management instead of the aviation side, engineering side, math, or any of the sciences, it was going to be a lot tougher for me. So that was a very tough decision, but I decided, nevertheless, I'll come back to Bulgaria and I'll begin my pilot training, right? That was the course I had laid out for myself anyway. And that was the goal at the time. So in 2020, June 9th, packed my bags and I went with the person who owned the Bulgarian shop in Dublin across Europe for 48 hours in a van with my parrot Pedro in between my legs in a cage. And off we went, sleeping at gas stations and wherever else we found. Sneaking past the border and no, I'm joking. But getting into Bulgaria and starting my life here all of a sudden. And a couple months later, so it was June, so in September, October, we started my pilot education. I did all the theoretical training, all of that fun stuff. But before the actual fun of flying, I decided this isn't for me. If I can't become an astronaut after this, I'd rather not do it, right? It mainly was because of ecological reasons. But in general, I decided there's other ways to make money. So I started my own business 2 weeks later of a marketing agency called Adan Media on February the 3rd, 2021. And since then, it has been going strong and it's definitely a pleasure. Yeah.
What was your experience here in doing an aviation course? In which city was it in?
So I did the course here in Sofia in the Technical University. And they're absolutely brilliant lecturers who I kind of shocked a little bit because my cousins had also gone through the same school. And I have two cousins. One is a pilot, one is in air traffic control. And it was absolutely brilliant because one of my favorite teachers there was for navigation. And every time he would lead a lecture, or in general, any of the lecturers, they would lead them in Bulgarian, but all my notes were in English, just because my brain functions like that. So every single word they would say, I would translate into English. I then have to translate it back for the test, and then I translate it back for myself. It was a bizarre scenario. But he'd sit there looking at that, and he'd talk to my cousins. He's like, what is wrong with this kid? Like, why is he not taking the notes down in the proper language? And he's like, just leave him be. He's yeah, weird. Anyway, but it was an incredible experience, very high quality. I would highly recommend it for anyone thinking about studying aviation in Bulgaria. The Technical University is a very, very good course for the theoretical stuff. And in general, that was one of my, it was in my dissertation or my thesis for my final year, for my bachelor's, the challenges with pilot training, actually, in Europe. And, linking issues with the pilot situation in Europe and accidents in general to the level of training that they get. And turns out, yes, there's some issues with how much you pay, right? Considering that Bulgaria is almost half price. But specifically for Bulgaria, the results were very encouraging in terms of the level of pilots that came out of the country because of the practical experience that they would get.
Oh, that's very encouraging to hear. I think that there is some specialties here where you get great education and training for a specialization like aviation. So then let's go to the second part that you started talking about, which is that you started a marketing agency here. What led you to that?
Sure. So I've basically been running my own businesses since I was 15. Back in Ireland, the push for entrepreneurship came from one of my business teachers, Keith Hannigan, who, absolutely credit to him, when we reached the entrepreneurship part in the textbook, he would have arranged with another teacher, fellow friend of his from another school, for both of their classes to have to create business plans. You could divide up into teams or you could do it solo, your choice. And you'd have to submit a business plan within the month. And on any topic you wanted.
In the month, okay.
Yeah. So we would, I was in fourth year, so 10th grade. And the first year I was extremely naive. I'd go, give me €1 million, I'd make a vineyard, and the next year you'll get €2 million out of me. Of course, why not? That's how business works, doesn't it? I completely fail, right? Nowhere near anywhere. So I was determined for the next year, right? And I saw the teams that won that year, and I'm like, no, I can do better. I was starting to think, basically, from the moment that business plan competition ended, what I'm going to do for next year. And loads of ideas started circulating. I started asking my brother, who was in international business, studying that for his bachelor's. And I'd go to him and I'd learn his notes and I'd do an extra class with my classmates, going the brainstorming group, we called it, where we would do all sorts of internal discussions of, okay, so for this month, if we want to make €100, how we would make it and what kind of businesses would we do. And then I would take whatever he studied in class that week and I'd teach it I'd learn it on my own time and I'd teach it back to my classmates that following Friday. And it was a brilliant little thing. So that's how my my career as an entrepreneur teacher started. And from there, that developed while I was in university as well. And I had different business ideas. I wanted to bring over to Ireland the Bulgarian idea of drink and drive, which isn't as illegal as it sounds. Insurance problems, however, meant that business couldn't run. However, I tried to apply with that business for this Ireland's Best Young Entrepreneur class, competition. And for that, we had to create a video. I know practically nothing about video making at that stage. So I went to a friend of mine who worked for Red Bull and I went, hey, could you make me a video? And he, as the entrepreneur that he is, went, sure, what's your budget? I'm like, €100. And he's like, for €100, you get this, but for €300, you get that. And I'm like, ooh, give me the €300 package. Nothing happened basically out of that competition. There was a complete waste of €300. But later that summer, I came back to Bulgaria. And I was talking to a friend of mine here who went, how much did he charge you for that video? And I'm like, €300. He's like, I could do that video. I'm like, fantastic, let's do it. And he's like, yeah, but I need you, because you talk a lot, to go and deal with the business side of things. I'm like, you got it, let's do it, right? Business partners. So we went to a cafe. He already had it in mind. We went to a gaming cafe, and that was our very first client. So when I was 15 years old, that was how our marketing agency started. Went to our first client. He was so happy with the results that he got from the video that we made. And that basically led us to creating that marketing agency. He came back for more videos and so on. And it was an absolute success off the get-go. Yeah. So we were like, that works. And since then, we've had loads of iterations of the marketing agency. Something that I could do basically for zero to no capital was needed. I just needed my phone. In Ireland, because I couldn't film, I would go to social media, to events basically, and be their social media guy. So what that would mean was I was on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, constantly taking pictures and writing something about the event during the event. And I would make loads of events go viral because I was the only person posting 100 fucking things in a minute, right? So that developed, and then from social media management, it developed into, so what are you actually going to do after the event? What kind of posts are you going to be making? Let's help you with your social media. Then it led into, let's plan your content calendar in general. And finally, that led into what I'm specializing in now, which is the marketing strategies of businesses, where we plan out the entire year or 3-year plan ahead of where does your company actually want to be, and we grow that.
Wow, that is a long road from like 15 years old teenager to now.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's something you've always been interested in. You get to do it now here in Bulgaria.
Yeah.
What made you make that decision, like, to do this in Bulgaria? What was it that was like, yeah, this is it. I want to come to Bulgaria and to do this here, not anywhere else where I've lived or new place?
Mainly it was the fact that I was already in Bulgaria because of the pilot training. And 1 week after I had arrived, we found 3 dogs in the mountain. Basically, we were walking with my brother. We found 3 dogs abandoned next to the river. We took them home with the idea of giving them to some sort of sanctuary or someone to take care of them.
Yeah.
But because we didn't hear the best of things about those kind of adoption places, we went, you know what? We can keep them, right? We've always been talking with my brother that we'd like a corgi, we'd like a husky, and we'd like a samoyed. And in fairness, we kind of got the 3 of those characters in our 3 little dogs. Those are the reasons that I stayed, right? Them compared with the parrot, trying to actually move after that is impossible, right? You're like, once you have pets, you're stuck. And it wasn't so much of an idea of, oh, where would I go? Or like, I've never thought about where would I live? Where would I go? Bulgaria is a perfect place as any, right? And especially with remote work, like my clients are from Mexico, Japan, Canada, US, Germany, all over. And even a client of mine from 8 years ago, one of my first clients in Ireland, came back to me 2 weeks ago, and I'm now working with him again. Like, it's a complete, it doesn't really matter where I am, so I might as well be in Bulgaria and enjoy this culture, enjoy my life here, and grow and do what I can do here.
Yeah, that's so true. Remote work has changed the world so much and what you can do, because I too moved here via remote work. The fact that I could transition here with my work abroad and see how it is here in the beginning. And the fact that for you, for instance, your clients are everywhere and you could just work from here, I think is a fair point. And I think so many Bulgarians that have moved the past 3-4 years, that's kind of the same storyline I'm hearing. Oh, around that time when remote work became popular and possible, I thought, why should I not try life here in Bulgaria and see how it works out? And from what I'm hearing, it sounds like people enjoy their life here, and the fact that they can reap the benefits of living life here. So that being said, for you, what are the benefits of living in Bulgaria?
So many. So in terms of, let's say entrepreneur first, and then we'll go into the personal life, right? As an entrepreneur, taxes are nothing, right? 10% flat on corporate and on personal tax. Absolutely brilliant. Compared to Ireland, which was like up to 52% on personal. So goodbye, everything I earn. And we get that question a lot. Like even nowadays, like my parents just came back here. They still live in Ireland, but they spend most of their time in Bulgaria. And they ask, oh, A, won't you get a real job? Love that question. B is, you could be making 6-7 figures in Ireland. And I'm like, yes, but where will that money go? And it's like, to the government. So I'm like, please, no. I'd just rather make here. All I need is about €500 a month. Literally, everything else that I earn stays with the company. I don't really need that money. Like, my expenses here are next to naught. I literally spend more on my dogs than I do for myself.
Well, to be fair, I think when you talk about this, you do live basically in the mountain.
Yes. Yeah, I am very privileged. I am fully aware of that, right? I live in the mountain in the middle of nowhere. It's something like a cabin in the woods type of a horror show type of place.
Oh,
right?
it's
I know. But in general, like, we have a house that has been built 20 years ago. My parents made it first when they were planning to move from Holland to Bulgaria. And we're definitely extremely lucky to not have to pay rent. To live in a place where basically our bills are quite low in general anyway. And I get the extra benefit of right now living with my brother, who also moved back 1 year before me, and that kind of collaboration of living with someone so you don't go completely crazy, because I have been known to talk to my parrot on occasion when I am alone for extended periods of time. So it's good to have another human soul to kind of wave at and go like, you're alive? Yes, I'm alive. Woohoo! So that's been good. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I genuinely, there's no reason for me to go anywhere else. Like, if I wasn't here, I would go completely pensioner level and go live on our farm in the middle of nowhere, completely middle of nowhere, right in the middle of Bulgaria. That's the kind of life that suits me. It doesn't suit my age, right? Like, I'm 25. I should not be living like my granny, who's 80. Like, we call each other in the mornings for coffee every single day. And we go, hey, how are you? Hey, how are you? What have you watched on Fox Crime last night? And I'm like, oh, the murders of whatever. Yeah, fantastic show. And that's the kind of stuff that we talk about. And I love it, right? That is my life. And I absolutely adore it. But it's not really the life of a 25-year-old, right? Like, along with when will you get a real job, the next question is, when will you find a wife? And I'm like, she'll come, right? She'll find a way. She'll get lost someday hiking across the forest, and she'll find our house, and I'll go welcome, and that will be it, right? It'll be a fairy tale ending.
Basically a fairy tale. You're looking for a fairy tale.
I will be. It's the Princess and the Beast. I'm literally living in the mountain going, I have my 3 dogs, go away, and she'll come and rescue me. Like, honestly, the way that I live is not really suited to most people. But I absolutely love it. I wouldn't change it for the world, honestly.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's absolutely true. You don't live from what I know, you don't live the average. Usually people won't choose that way, most likely. The alternative way of living. Yes. And I think it's great that you've chosen like this and that it suits you so well on the financial side as well. But if we go into the personal side and the social side of Bulgaria, how has your life developed there?
Well, it has been quite interesting, right? So in terms of friends and in terms of the social circle that I have been looking to find friends from different angles, right? I would go to different events and find like-minded people who specifically like to talk about entrepreneurship, right? And we kind of can spot ourselves a mile away, right? If you don't talk about anything else other than your business, I kind of know who you are. Yeah, come on, you're friends with me. But other than that, I mean, definitely finding a girlfriend, finding stuff like that, it was very tough. Like, now my ex, for example, we met in Rome, right? Basically, we like to joke about that I found her for €9 on Ryanair. Where
that's a serious joke.
Yeah, but it was a brilliant start to it, and it was the perfect kind of getaway, right? I absolutely love that. But that's how crazy of a story needs to happen, and all of these coincidences for me to find someone as a social circle, right? Because genuinely, in the way that I live, it's fairly difficult, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's either events or random trips to Rome. I figured out it's one or the other, right? Because Tinder and Bumble, not really my thing.
Yeah, well, yeah, it makes sense. It's not the best thing out there, the way to find people.
So I mean, like if you like go on Tinder, it's location based. Around me, there's bears. Like there's nothing. You're really not finding a match up there.
Yeah, a lot of very interesting stories you just mentioned there, which I think just show how unique of a person you are, which I think is great. And talking about like the positives, I also want to get into like what challenges have you faced? Like living and moving to Bulgaria is not always so easy. For you, what are those things?
Honestly, I was fairly well acclimatized to what Bulgaria would be beforehand. Every summer, every winter we'd spend here. So I was quite well prepared. Our whole family is here. We have, from my mother's side, 13 cousins. From my dad's side, the entire village. So I kind of knew the culture. Since I was 10, again, I'm the youngest of the group, of the social group of my brothers, cousins, etc. So everyone's 5-6 years older than me. So when I was 10, they were what age? 15, 16. They do the natural thing of partying and staying up all night and drinking. And I tag along. So a 10-year-old having a beer, it's not really the best thing, but you grow up fast. So my kind of life was very acclimatized to Bulgaria, to listening to the folk songs and like dancing on tables. And it was a brilliantly random thing that you couldn't really relate to with your Irish classmates at the time. So I had a very Bulgarian childhood in a certain way. So me coming back to Bulgaria was me coming home, right? And it was definitely something that I can't say I was expecting anything different. I can't say anything else. Like the friction that I'd have maybe at work with specific business partners or like clients or stuff like that, that's completely normal. And I would see that everywhere in the world, right? I was, for example, even in Ireland, one of my first businesses, I was cheated out by one of my business partners there. And I'd learned that that's a human trait. It's not a national trait. It's not a personal trait. It's not whatever it is. It's that person simply was like that. It wasn't me being naive to trust them. It was specifically that one case. So I'd always remain that trusting person, and I'd always look for the best in people. I wouldn't say I have to change because those people are like this. No. So in Bulgaria, very similarly, like I wouldn't change anything about it, and I wouldn't want to have been prepared in a different way for anything. Everything was pinpoint exactly as I would expect it. Like, and I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah, thank you so much for actually pointing out a lot of these things that you just did, because that's true. So many things that happen here that we say is a Bulgarian trait. It happens everywhere. There's all kinds of people in the world, people that you can trust, people you can't trust. It is more about learning who are those people, because it can happen to you anywhere in the world. And I think it's so sweet that because you've been here winters, summers, holidays, it's basically your home, even though you've lived abroad most of your life, because you come here so often, it sounds like, and you did, Bulgaria is your home.
Absolutely. I mean, my brother likes to joke about, right, you know, how on the back of toys, some say like made in Taiwan or something, like he'd say I made in China, right? Like, because made in Singapore, same thing, right? But nevertheless, we kind of always had that Bulgarian heritage, Bulgarian culture. And again, like we like even our name, right? I am extremely lucky. SEO loves me, right? Because there's no other Lenard Adanov in the world. So from that regard, like even the name Adanov, we have no idea whether someone was drunk when writing it and it was meant to be Adam, right? But we ended it with an N in the middle of it, and we're Adanovs. And the whole idea was that, 14 generations ago, our great-great-grandparents couldn't have kids, and they went to this wise old lady in a hut somewhere, I guess, who told them, oh, the next child will live, but you have to name it with a new beginning, like something, basically, whatever, new beginning. And they chose, okay, well, we'll name it with the letter A, and that's why we were guessing that it might be Adam, from Adam and Eve. But either their spelling was as good as in some people's, and they wrote it Adam. And from there, it was, for multiple generations, one person was called Adan, and his son was called Todor, and the kid lived, right? And he had a son, right, called Todor, and through generations, there would be Adan, Todor, Adan, Todor, Adan, Todor. And all the way till recently, until my great-granddad was called Todor as well, and my granddad was called Dinko. I have no idea why, but Bulgarian for you. So, yeah, from Dinko to my dad called Marian to me called Leonard. Completely off the rails, right? But yeah, and I'm named after my granny called Wauka, right? So, again, way off the charts. But at least we got the letter. So with her, we like to joke about that I'm representing her letter, and we're always going to be strong like that. And we have a very close bond, and that's why we drink coffee in the mornings. So yeah, it was just a generally brilliant way to we've always felt Bulgarian. We've never felt anything else. When we're here, people look at us like, there's this brilliant Bulgarian phrase called polezno iskupajmo, which is they look at you like a little hidden gem, right? They're like, you know other languages and Bulgarian, like a surprise, and you've lived abroad and you've come back. And it's a brilliant little benefit, right? And definitely something you can take advantage of if you've managed to go abroad, learn from there, learn their tips and tricks, and come back here. And I love the fact that when people say, oh, there's nothing here, there's another way to look at that. It's like, there's nothing here. It's amazing. You have the opportunity of a lifetime to build whatever you want, and you have zero competition. And very similarly, like there's so much things that you can do here, and there's so many things that you can develop. So for entrepreneurs and for like the young students especially, get motivated, get doing, right? There's so much generally here. Like it's why I'm trying to build up, like my own little brand here and stuff like that. And along with the English part of, like, say, like my LinkedIn, I'm trying to start like TikTok and Instagram accounts to speak in Bulgarian, and that's why I'm very happy about you guys as well. That there's so much you can do here, and everyone is super supportive, right? Like you find your people. That you're always gonna find people who are like, oh, jealous, or oh, that's never gonna work. Yeah, forget them. Honestly, who cares, right? Or like the CeeLo lyrics, the radio version is forget them, but we know the other version. And then just go and do your thing. You'll get the support. There's so many people who are genuinely rooting for you and wishing for your success. Just find your people, find your tribe, and go nuts.
Yeah, that's such great advice that you're giving right there, and the whole story, the fact that you have so much roots connected to 14 generations. I wish I could go back 14 generations and know what was happening. What you said is just great advice for people who are still abroad, and whether they're younger or they're older. I think this is something that everyone is always afraid of. That thing of, oh, what am I gonna do if I'm there? Will someone get in my way? Will I find people?
Yeah.
That's always something that is a barrier, I think, to taking that step.
Yeah, that's the beauty, right? And a very big thing about Bulgaria is, well, not about Bulgaria only, but you don't have to be smart. You don't have to be good. You don't have to be innovative, right? I tell literally all my clients, because they don't have the budget to go, wow, right, extreme. Do not try to think of something new. You're not going to reinvent the wheel, right? Not going to happen. Look abroad. Look anywhere else. See what works. Take it, do it here, right? It takes nothing. It takes zero effort to find an idea that someone has done and done well, and copy paste the living hell out of that.
Okay, I'm not a fan of the copy paste, but then you should at least have a passion or like what you're doing.
Of course. Right. That's a different topic.
Yeah,
right?
That's a different
If you want to do a business just to do a business, right? Find what works and copy, right?
Okay.
Do it in your own style. Do it in your own way, right? Absolutely. But don't try and come up with a brand new idea. You're not going to. 8 billion people are coming up with ideas constantly. You're not going to come up with anything new. Everything has been invented. Everything's on social media. Go in, pluck an idea, do it, right? And do it better. But in terms of doing what you like to do, that's a massive thing, right? I mean, it's part of the reason when you're thinking about what's your passion, what's your reason to live, right? Raison d'être, right? I'm fucking French. But anyway, you're not thinking about, oh, what's gonna make me unique, or what's the purpose of life? No, right? Do what makes you happy, right? When I was 15 or 16, the reason why I think this is because of a heartbreak I went through, right? And I was in a little hole for about 6 months, and then at the end of it, I'm like, why the hell am I sad? I'll just be happy. And I was, right? Poof, right? I solved depression. What actually happened was I basically started writing post-it notes across my room and across the bathroom and all the windows and everywhere, where it was like, okay, you're not happy. Congratulations. Make another person happy. Make another person smile. And I started writing ideas of how to make people smile. Like, should I just give roses out on the street? Should I give balloons out? Should I just like write smiley faces everywhere? Like, maybe that'll make someone smile. And all of a sudden, I saw that when I made someone else smile, I smiled too. It was contagious. So I'm like, hallelujah, right? I've solved it. So I started making other people happy, and that made me happy. And that became basically my philosophy. So be as selfless as possible. Be the perfect version of yourself as you can be. Be the perfect version of a person that you can think of, right? Because if you're thinking about, oh, I'm not good enough, what does it mean? What are the metrics, right? Like, measure yourself towards what you want to be. I'm not saying you have to be an entrepreneur by sense of the word, right? No. You can work for someone else and be happy. Find what brings you that happiness. It doesn't really matter. It could be your job, it could be your partner, it could be animals, it could be whatever it is. But find what makes you happy, right? Life is way too short to go, I'm unhappy, it's Monday again. Like, yeah, congratulations, it's Monday for everyone. Big whoop, right? What are you going to do about it, right? And from here on, it's your choice. And the fact of the matter is, every single morning that you wake up, it's your choice.
So I think that's great advice to always question yourself. Okay, how can you be happy today? And the truth is, only you can make yourself happy. You shouldn't be waiting for someone else to do it for you. So all these things we've discussed about what you're doing here in Bulgaria and what you strive for. What is a problem you see in Bulgaria? Like, what is something that you would wish would improve that hasn't improved at the moment?
A big thing for me is education. So nevertheless, like even though I talked about the fact that there are some aspects of it that are good, I would love for students to have a much more a much broader approach to education, learn about things that actually were relevant in life, and in general, not to be on waiting, like parents to be on waiting lists for months or years on end to enroll their child in a kindergarten or in a school or whatever it is. Like you have to start planning about your kid and enroll them, right? Not knowing what the hell they're gonna come out as. Like it's insane, right? That kind of structure. It's not just in Bulgaria, but in general, it's the you can't be teaching the kids from 70-year-old textbooks and expect them to live well for the future, right? That's not the way the thing is going to work, right? You're not a bank, you're not a snail. Move quicker, right? It's educational reform that has to happen now. It doesn't have to happen in years on end. We can I'll just do it on Monday. No, do it now, right? Like take responsibility and get things done. And there's so much stuff that I'd change there. And on top of that, it's also not just about Sofia. It's about all these different cities around Bulgaria that need new life birthed into them. And I'm extremely happy, for example, a bit of a side note again, but like something that I feel like I'm trying to help with in Bulgaria is this new project that we're doing with a football club, which found me through LinkedIn, of all places. But it's called Academic Svishtov. And they want to birth new life into Svishtov as a city. And right now we're looking for sponsorship for the 25 season. So whoever's watching, we need money. And what we're doing is we're basically trying to improve the entire town from the football club and from the university that's there and from even the mayor's office, like all getting involved and building towards a better thing, because you're not going to get change if you just wait on it, right? And what we want to do is we basically started, and fair play to them for going ahead with this and being for this. We've started with a marketing strategy, right? Because like anything else, this city needs a marketing strategy. It needs a way to be looked for and to be wanted by people. So what we're doing is, okay, how can we make Svishtov attractable, right? And attractive to people. So we're going to create a TV show about academic Svishtov, right? And about the football club, and we'll base it fairly accurately on Welcome to Wrexham, which was a football club in Wales bought by Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney. And we're literally going to copy the way they've done it. And we absolutely love that idea. We're not going to be original, right? That was the whole point. We're going to try and take that and make it Bulgarian and make it our own. And like, that's why I'm with the blue here right now, right? Like kind of showing off the Let's Go Academic, right? Because they're in the V group of football. And in Bulgaria, football isn't really something that's supported in the lower leagues, right? Anywhere, right? It's only the major leagues that make money. Well, these people have managed to increase the amount of kids in their academy from 60 to 210 in a year, right? That's massive. They're trying to become one of the biggest academies in the Balkans for kids. And the way football can change not only the kids that are in the team or the men that are in the team or the women, it can change entire communities, it can change entire nations. Because like everyone in Bulgaria still talks about the 1994, Bulgarian. Yeah, sure, fine, but what happens in the future? How about 2026 Bulgaria, Let's go for it. And that's the thing, that people are so stuck up in the past that they're not looking for the future. And right now with this, we have basically a 10-year plan going for what are we going to do with this, right? How are we going to develop the football club? How are we going to be developing the kids? How are we going to help them with social media, with the new sponsors, with the new businesses in the area, and get them to support this initiative and get them to grow alongside the football club, alongside with all these people who are, like, we have about 2,000 fans going to every single football game. All of these have parents, siblings, kids who either attend the matches, who train there, who support the club, who have supported in the past, right? And they've been in the top flight of Bulgarian football before, right? In years 1970, 1980. Let's bring it back. And we can see the changes to tourism and the changes to the community and the economic status that like Welcome to Wrexham have done for Wrexham as a town. we want to do the exact same in Bulgaria. And that really motivates me. And the opportunities that we can bring, my connections from abroad, like lecturers from Ireland, lecturers from Germany, to come and potentially teach in the university here in Svishtov, to work with the local government for innovations and, how can we promote that, get VC funds involved as well, get so much external support into this one little city, right? But I want to show that we can do this here, and then hopefully, we can expand and do it everywhere else, and show that there's so many things that you can do outside of Sofia. We can do anywhere, right? Not like even do it in Sofia. It's not a bad place, right? But do it wherever you are. You have those remote opportunities. You have those opportunities in those cities that you can still take advantage of. And that's what we really want to show.
Yeah, no, that is an amazing initiative, and the fact that it's true, education is something that can be always further improved. The story that you say about this Svishtov football team, and the fact that they are taking the initiative and that they're putting in the work to do something different in their city, and it's in Svishtov is, I think, amazing, and I hope this momentum really does build into other cities within Bulgaria, because that would be such a great thing. Football is something that's so much a part of all of our culture in Bulgaria, and to see different cities be proud of their football club and to root for them and to want to train within their own city, I think that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Really, your interview has been full of many different aspects of stories, which I think all connect to the fact that you've lived so much in so many different cities, and still you've taken everything you've learned and you're trying to bring it into your community here, the people that you meet here in Bulgaria, which I think is such a honorable thing to do. What else would you like to see happening in Bulgaria or in your life in the next 5 years?
So I have no idea. Genuinely,
that's fair. That's fair. Most of us don't.
Exactly, and that's the beauty of it. I have no idea if I'll be living here or hugging penguins in Antarctica. No clue. My goal is, again, I'm developing myself as much as possible. I have multiple different businesses that I've trying to build, or I've invested in, or I'm mentoring in some way, shape, or form, and I'd love to keep on doing that because it genuinely brings me joy. I definitely love to get like 10 followers on LinkedIn, or 10 followers on Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is, and that's kind of like those short little goals and little things that I'd love to do. But overall, if I can have my health and have my family around me, and just keep on enjoying what I do every single day, that's all I want, right? Now, I've been a part of NGOs, I've been a part of businesses, I've been a part of basically pushes for financial literacy in Bulgaria. I even now teach refugees in Kenya. I have about 90 adult students there who I teach about entrepreneurship, communication, soft skills. I have 6 lectures a week with them, and these are all things that I'd love to see develop, and I'd love to keep on doing, because it's not just about, how much money can I make in a month. I really don't care, right? That's not, I'm gonna be when I was a kid, I'd love that. I'm gonna be a billionaire when I was 20. I'm like, no, you won't. I'm not. Who cares, right? That really doesn't matter in my life anymore. It's all about, am I gonna be happy? Yeah. Let's go. And that's so much more my speed, my way of thinking, and I absolutely, if I can keep on having that kind of mindset, that's all I want.
I really hope those things that you want, and that you continue to do things that make you happy in life, but whatever way, in whatever form, that you're always happy with what you're doing. And I would like to thank you for being on our podcast and sharing your stories and experiences.
Thank you too. Thank you for having me.
And I hope our audience that you got a lot from our guest today, Lenard, and his experiences in different countries, and how he's been able to bring his knowledge and experiences into his life now of what he lives here in Bulgaria, and be able to share his knowledge and connect with people in a different way. I hope it gave you some things to think about. So thank you for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed it, please share it with a friend or family member who you think will gain a lot of knowledge and experience from our talk today. And if you liked what you heard, please follow us. It helps us a lot, whether it's Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and also follow us on social media. We're on TikTok and LinkedIn and Instagram. So thank you very much, and go ahead and do something awesome today.
Listen to us. Do something awesome and listen to us.